The chandelier lights flickered like judgment from above, casting long shadows across the polished mahogany table laden with turkey, stuffing, and secrets. I stood there, my heart pounding not from fear but from the sweet burn of long-suppressed fury. As the room full of Portland's elite fell into a stunned hush, my stepmother, Elena, with her perfectly coiffed silver hair and diamond earrings that caught the light like accusations, had just finished her toast. "To our family," she'd said, her voice dripping with that false warmth she reserved for public performances. "And to gratitude for all we've built together." Her eyes had slid to me then, sharp as knives, even those who sometimes forget to show it. That's when I raised my glass, my hand steady despite the adrenaline surging through me. "To gratitude," I echoed, my voice cutting through the murmurs like a blade. "And to the truth behind it all." The clinking stopped. Eyes turned. My father, Victor Hale, sat at the head of the table, his broad shoulders slumping slightly under his tailored suit, oblivious as ever to the storm I'd been brewing for months. Beside him, my stepsister, Lila, 28 and glowing in her designer gown, fidgeted with her engagement ring, a rock that screamed privilege. The guests, business tycoons, society darlings, even a local judge, leaned in, sensing the shift in the air. I set down my glass and pulled out the slim black envelope from my purse. "Elena called me ungrateful last year, right here at this very table. Said I'd taken everything for granted, the education, the family name, the doors it opened. But tonight, I want to show you all just how grateful I am. Grateful for the lessons in betrayal." I slid the first document across the table toward her. It was a bank statement, highlighted in yellow, a $750,000 transfer from Hale Developments to an account in Lila's name, labeled as consulting fees. "Lila, why don't you tell everyone about the work you did for Dad's company last spring?" "Oh, wait, you were in Aspen skiing, weren't you? Your social media posts were quite detailed." Gasps rippled through the room. Lila's face drained of color, her manicured fingers clutching the tablecloth. Elena's smile froze, cracking at the edges. "What is this nonsense?" "Sophia," she hissed, using my name like a weapon. But I wasn't Sophia, the quiet daughter, anymore. The one who'd bitten her tongue for 12 years while they erased me from the family portrait. I was Sophia Hale, 34. Senior analyst at a top Seattle firm, the woman who'd clawed her way up without a single handout from the man who was supposed to be my protector. It started when I was 22, fresh out of college. My parents' divorce had been civil. Mom got custody. Dad got weekends. We were middle class in Seattle suburbs. Nothing fancy. Mom worked as a nurse, teaching me to budget and hustle. Dad, Victor, was building his real estate empire then, flipping properties into luxury condos. He met Elena at a gala, a former marketing exec with a sharp tongue and sharper ambitions. She brought Lila, her daughter from a previous marriage, into the fold like a prized possession. From the wedding onward, the scales tipped. I'd put myself through the University of Washington on scholarships and waitressing gigs, graduating with honors in finance. Lila, Dad paid for her private tutors, her gap year in Europe, her spot at NYU despite middling grades. My first apartment was a cramped studio in Capitol Hill. Lila got a penthouse in Bellevue for her 21st. "She's had a harder start," Dad would say, his eyes avoiding mine. Elena's ex left them high and dry, as if Mom and I hadn't scraped by after the divorce. As if my straight A's and late-night study sessions meant less because I didn't come with Elena's baggage. The erasures were subtle at first. Family newsletters featured the Hale clan, Victor, Elena, and Lila, with photos from their Aspen trips. My childhood pics gathered dust in the attic of their Lake Washington mansion. At gatherings, Elena would parade Lila to Victor's partners, our rising star. Interning at Amazon, I'd stand in the corner, my own promotion to lead analyst going unmentioned. Sophia's doing fine, Elena would say dismissively. She's so independent. Independent became code for unwanted. I swallowed it all, telling myself family was worth the pain. Kept showing up for holidays, birthdays, even when my calls went unanswered. But the resentment built, layer by layer, like interest on a bad loan. Elena's barbs grew bolder. Sophia never calls, never thanks us, as if she'd ever lifted a finger for me. Lila played along, her sweet smiles hiding the glee of being the favored one. Humor crept in sometimes, dark and biting. I'd joke to friends about being the spare heir, but inside, it hollowed me out. Last Thanksgiving had been the spark. Elena, wine glass in hand, had turned the table's attention to me after praising Lila's latest achievement, a vague marketing role at a startup that smelled fishy. Sophia,
Dear,
when are you going to settle down? Or advance? You've been at that firm forever. It's almost ungrateful, wasting the Hale name like that. The room had laughed politely. Dad had chuckled, checking his watch. I'd left early, pie uneaten, vowing change. Months later, the mistake that unraveled everything, an email from Elena's account, meant for Lila but CC'd to me by accident. Darling, the transfer's set. Victor won't notice amid the quarterly reports. Your share from the Bellevue project hits next month. Soon, Sophia's portion will be redirected, legally. Of course.
Love.
Mom. Attached, spreadsheets showing siphoned funds from Hale Developments into offshore accounts. Millions shifted over years, disguised as expenses. My breath caught. This wasn't favoritism, it was theft. I forwarded it to a secure drive, then called Marcus Kane, a forensic accountant I'd met through work. No ties to Dad's world. This is embezzlement, Marcus said after poring over it. Tax fraud, too. We need to dig. I hired him, dipping into savings I'd built alone. The investigation revealed a labyrinth, Elena forging signatures, including mine on trusts, Lila's startup, a front for laundered money, inflated losses on Hale projects to dodge IRS scrutiny. Elena's past emerged too, fired from her old job for similar schemes. Charges dropped after repayment. Victor had been her golden goose, blinded by her charm. What now? Marcus asked. Authorities. Not yet. I wanted them to feel the exposure, the public fall. I contacted Rachel Torres, a reporter at the Seattle Business Journal, specializing in corporate scandals. This could blow up, she said. When? Thanksgiving, I replied. Make it poetic. In the months leading up, I played the dutiful daughter, smiled at Elena's digs, congratulated Lila on her engagement to some venture capitalist named Trent, documented every slip, Elena's hasty emails covering tracks, Lila's extravagant posts contradicting their struggling narrative. By November, I had a dossier, irrefutable,
Damning. Now.
At the table, I laid it out piece by piece. This one's my favorite, I said, holding up a forged deed, transferring Grandma Hale's lake house to Lila's name. Remember her? Dad? The woman who built this family fortune you let them steal? Victor's face crumpled. Sophia. Is this true? Elena's composure shattered. Lies. She's jealous. Always has been. But the guests were murmuring. Phones out. Searching the names I dropped. Lila burst into tears.
Mom.
Fix this. The quartet stopped playing. The judge cleared his throat. Young lady, if this is fraud, I suggest legal counsel immediately. I smiled.
Oh.
I have that covered. My attorney's outside with settlement papers. Full restitution. Confessions. Or the feds get everything tomorrow. Chaos erupted. Trent whispered to Lila. You said the money was legit. He bolted. Ring still on her finger, for now. Investors cornered Victor. We're pulling out. Elena lunged for the documents. But I held firm. Touch them. And it's assault on top of fraud. The air thickened with betrayal stench. For the first time, I held the power. And it tasted like vindication. The fallout hit like a Pacific Northwest storm. Relentless. Soaking everything in its path. As the guests scattered from the Hale mansion that night, whispers turned to shouts outside. Fraud? Hale Developments? One investor barked into his phone. Sell my shares now. Elena stood in the foyer, her elegant gown rumpled, face twisted in rage. You spiteful bitch, she spat at me. You've ruined us. Ruined yourselves, I corrected calmly, as Marcus entered with his briefcase. Sign here. And it stays civil. Refuse. And Rachel's article drops at midnight. Victor slumped in a chair, staring at the documents like they were ghosts. Elena. How could you? His voice cracked. The mighty developer reduced to a broken man. She whirled on him. How could I? You with your stingy prenup. Treating Lila like second class, while Sophia got the legacy just for being born first. We deserved more. The confession spilled out. Raw and ugly. Lila sobbed in the corner, mascara streaking her cheeks. I didn't know.
Daddy.
Mom said it was investments. But the emails told a different story. Lila signing off on every transfer. Her greedy notes. More for the wedding fund? Marcus laid out the terms. $4.8 million returned immediately. Assets frozen. Divorce papers waiving Elena's claims. Or we go public, he said. Elena's hands shook as she logged into accounts, transferring funds back under our watch. By 1 a.m., it was done. They left in a cab, mansion keys surrendered, heading to a hotel. No more Lake Washington views for them. The next morning, Rachel's article exploded online. Seattle real estate mogul's family embroiled in multi-million fraud scheme. Photos of Elena and Lila from society pages juxtaposed with the dossier highlights. Shares in Hale Developments tanked 25%. Victor's board ousted him pending audit. Temporary, they said, but the damage was deep. I watched from my Seattle loft, coffee in hand, as the media frenzy built. Calls poured in CNN, Forbes, but I declined. This wasn't about spotlight, it was closure. Mom called first. Sophia. Honey. Are you okay? She'd always known the favoritism stung, but urged patience. Proud of you, she added softly. For standing up. Elena didn't go quietly. A week later, her lawyer fired off a defamation suit. Marcus countered with a full evidence packet, 200 pages of ironclad proof. The suit vanished. Then came the desperate text from Lila. Please.
Sis.
Retracted. I'll give you half. Half of what? The stolen millions? I blocked her. The audit uncovered more. Elena had siphoned from Victor's late mother's trust. Jewelry pawned for Lila's business trips. Lila's startup? A shell with no employees. Just a fancy website. Her NYU degree? Paid for with forged scholarships. Trent publicly dumped her on LinkedIn, distancing myself from recent revelations. Humiliating. Victor tried reconciliation. A letter. Daughter. Let's talk. I was blind. I burned it.
Blind?
He'd ignored my graduations, my promotions, while funding Lila's whims. Love wasn't blind. It was selective. As winter set in,
the feds got involved.
IRS agents raided the mansion, now vacant, and seized records. Elena and Lila holed up in a dingy Tacoma motel. Ankle monitors pending charges. Elena's old colleague surfaced. She did this before, embezzled petty cash. A pattern emerged. A lifetime of cons. I threw myself into work, landing a VP role at my firm. Colleagues whispered, "That's the Hale whistleblower?" But respect followed. Humor helped. I'd quip. Family holidays? Overrated. Yet nights brought doubt. Had I gone too far? The exposure was public. Irreversible. By spring, indictments dropped. Wire fraud. Tax evasion.
Forgery.
Elena faced 15 years. Lila, 7. Bail hearings showed them disheveled. The glamour gone. Elena played victim, manipulated by circumstances. The judge scoffed. Victor sold assets to cover losses, downsizing to a condo. He aged overnight. Golf buddies vanishing. Karma, Mom said over dinner one night. We laughed. But it was bittersweet. Family bonds severed. Lila cracked first, offering to testify against Elena for leniency. Mom forced me, she claimed in leaks. Elena retaliated with interviews. My daughter betrayed me. The media ate it up. A mother-daughter rift amid scandal. I met Rachel for coffee. Regrets, she asked. Only that it took so long to see their game. The psychological toll lingered, trust issues. But strength too. I'd rebuilt alone. Proven my worth. As summer approached, pleas were entered. Guilty. Sentencing loomed. Elena wrote me from jail. You've won. Happy. No signature. I didn't respond. Victory felt hollow sometimes, but necessary. Sentencing day in the federal courthouse was a spectacle, cameras flashing outside. Whispers inside. Elena, in an ill-fitting suit, stood defiant. Her once impeccable makeup smudged. Your Honor, her lawyer pleaded. A first-time offender. Manipulated by financial stress. The judge, unmoved. Read the charges. $4.8 million embezzled. Families torn. 12 years, he declared. Elena crumpled. Handcuffs clicking. Lila followed. Tears streaming. I was young. Influence. The prosecutor countered. 28 emails show complicity.
5 years.
With parole possible. As they were led away, Lila glanced at me, pleading, broken. I looked away. Victor sat in the back.
Alone.
Face buried in hands. Post-trial. Life normalized for me. I bought a house in Queen and modest.
Mine.
Therapy helped unpack the years of neglect. You weren't ungrateful. You were unseen. Humor emerged in sessions. Therapy bill? Cheaper than family drama. Victor's company survived. Rebranded under new leadership. He reached out via email. Coffee? To apologize. I declined. Apologies couldn't mend 12 years. Elena adapted in prison, teaching business classes to inmates. Per rumors. Lila wrote letters. I'm sorry.
Sis.
Learning trades here. I filed them unread. A year later, at a work gala, I met Alex, a kind architect. No drama. Just genuine laughs. Heard your story, he said. Brave. Dates turned serious, love without conditions. Mom and I grew closer. Holidays simple. Her lasagna. My wine. Real family, she'd say. But echoes remained. A news update, Elena appealing. Claiming emotional duress. Laughable. Lila paroled early. Working retail in Idaho, anonymous. The central question haunted. Was justice worth the wreckage? Victor's isolation. My severed ties. Yet, without it, I'd still be the outsider. Accepting crumbs. The psychological layers deepened over time. Friends asked, how did you endure? I explained the slow build. small slights compounding into rage. Elena's narcissism, treating me as threat. Lila as extension. Victor's passivity, enabling it all. Social dynamics in affluent Seattle, appearances over authenticity. One night, Alex and I discussed it. Humor and horror, he said. Like Elena teaching fraud in prison? We laughed. But it underscored human flaws. By the second anniversary, I spoke at a women's finance conference, spotting fraud in business and life. Attendees nodded, sharing stories. Empowerment rippled. Victor's health declined, stress-related. A mutual friend relayed. He regrets everything. Part of me softened, but boundaries held. Elena's release loomed distant. Lila rebuilt quietly. The story faded from headlines, but lessons lingered. Years blurred, but the core conflict echoed in quiet moments. At 38, I married Alex in a small ceremony, Mom walking me down the aisle. No hails invited. Our son, born later, brought joy untainted by past. Victor passed at 72. Obituary noting survived by daughter Sophia. His will, revised post-scandal, left me the bulk, ironic justice. I donated half to fraud victims' funds. Elena, paroled after 8 years, vanished. Rumors of Florida cons. Lila contacted me once. Congrats on the baby. Miss family. I replied. Build your own. The mouth wan lingered. Forgiveness versus boundaries. Did exposure heal or scar? I chose peace. Humor persisted. Thanksgiving? We do pizza now. But depth remained. Society's favoritism. Psychological toll of inequality. Love warped by greed. Societal pressure on women to endure. My career soared. Board seats. Mentorship. Alex's support contrasted Victor's absence. A documentary approached. Declined. Stories mine. The ethical question. Was public shaming moral? It stopped their cycle. Saved others. On a rainy Seattle Thanksgiving. Years later, I sat with my chosen family, Mom, Alex, our kids, friends like Marcus and Rachel.
Pie homemade.
Laughter genuine. To gratitude, I toasted. For truths revealed. Lessons learned. The room clinked glasses. Outside. Rain washed clean.
Inside.
Warmth from bonds earned. Not inherited. Yet. What if Victor had seen sooner? Would lives differ? The question hung. A moral whisper. Justice's cost. Forgiveness's weight. In the end, I was grateful not for the pain, but the strength it forged. Family isn't given, it's chosen. Fought for.
True.
1,010 words.